What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into the life of one of the most legendary figures in history. A man who conquered the known world before he turned 30, who never lost a single battle, and whose empire stretched from Greece to India. I'm talking about Alexander the Great. Now, Alexander is the kind of figure who seems almost mythical. His story is so incredible that it's hard to believe he was actually real. But he was, and his impact on the world is still felt today. So, let's get into it. Alexander was born in 356 BC in Pella, the capital of the Kingdom of Macedon. His father was King Philip II, a brilliant military commander who had unified the Greek city-states under Macedonian rule. His mother was Olympias, a fiercely ambitious woman who claimed her family descended from the Greek hero Achilles. Alexander grew up believing he had divine blood, and that shaped everything about him. As a boy, Alexander was tutored by the greatest philosopher of his time, Aristotle. Think about that. Aristotle taught him philosophy, science, medicine, and literature. Alexander memorized the Iliad and carried a copy with him everywhere he went. He identified with Achilles, the greatest Greek warrior. This was more than just education. It was grooming for greatness. When Alexander was just 16, his father left him in charge of Macedon while he went to war. Alexander crushed a rebellious tribe and founded his first city, naming it Alexandropolis. He was already showing signs of the ambition and military genius that would define his life. Then, in 336 BC, King Philip was assassinated. Alexander was just 20 years old. He inherited a powerful kingdom, but also a lot of enemies. Many thought the young king wouldn't last a year. They were wrong. Alexander moved fast. He eliminated his rivals, crushed rebellions in Greece, and within 2 years, he had secured his throne and his kingdom. Now came the big one. Alexander had inherited his father's dream of invading the Persian Empire. The Persian Empire was the superpower of the ancient world. It stretched from Egypt to India. It was massive, wealthy, and had a huge army. Everyone thought Alexander was crazy to take it on. But he didn't care. In 334 BC, Alexander crossed into Asia with an army of about 40,000 men. This was a risky move. He was far from home with limited supplies. But he was confident. At the Battle of Granicus, he faced a Persian force and won decisively. The victory allowed him to march through Asia Minor, liberating Greek cities and building his reputation. The next major battle was at Issus in 333 BC. Alexander faced the Persian king Darius III himself. Darius had a massive army, far larger than Alexander's. But Alexander used superior tactics. He personally led a cavalry charge that broke through the Persian lines and nearly captured Darius. The Persian king fled, leaving his family and his treasure behind. Alexander treated Darius's family with respect, a calculated move to show he was a civilized conqueror, not a barbarian. But Alexander wasn't done. He marched down the Mediterranean coast, capturing the Phoenician cities, including Tyre. The Siege of Tyre is legendary. The city was on an island, and Alexander built a causeway across the sea to reach it. It took 7 months, but he took the city. Then he conquered Egypt, where he was welcomed as a liberator. The Egyptians crowned him pharaoh. He founded the city of Alexandria, which would become one of the greatest centers of learning in the ancient world. In 331 BC, Alexander met Darius for the final time at the Battle of Gaugamela. Once again, Alexander was outnumbered. But his tactics were brilliant. He feinted, broke the Persian lines, and once again, Darius fled. This time, Alexander was proclaimed king of Asia. He controlled the Persian Empire. He was only 25. But Alexander didn't stop. He pushed eastward into Central Asia, conquering Bactria and Sogdia. He married a local princess, Roxanne, to secure his control over the region. Then he turned his gaze to India, a land the Greeks knew almost nothing about. In 326 BC, Alexander crossed the Indus River and faced King Porus at the Battle of Hydaspes. The battle was brutal. Porus had war elephants, which terrified the Macedonian soldiers. But Alexander adapted. He outflanked Porus and won a decisive victory. He was so impressed by Porus's courage that he let him keep his kingdom. Now, Alexander wanted to push further into India, but his army refused. They were exhausted and homesick. They had been fighting for 8 years and marched thousands of miles. They wanted to go home. Alexander was furious. He wanted to keep going, but he eventually relented. He turned back, but the journey was devastating. He led his army through the Gedrosian desert, and thousands died from heat, thirst, and starvation. When Alexander finally returned to Babylon, he wasn't the same. He had grown paranoid and cruel. He executed former friends on suspicion of conspiracy. He forced his soldiers to marry Persian women in an attempt to unite his empire. The Greek and Macedonian soldiers resented this. They felt he was abandoning his heritage. In 323 BC, Alexander was in Babylon, planning another campaign. Then he fell ill. He had a fever that lasted days. His health declined rapidly. On June 10, 323 BC, Alexander the Great died. He was only 32 years old. The cause of his death is still debated. Some say poison, others say malaria or typhoid fever. His body was preserved in honey and taken to Alexandria, where it remained for centuries. But his empire didn't survive. With no clear successor, his generals fought over his lands, splitting the empire into 3 major kingdoms. So, what is Alexander's legacy? He is one of the greatest military commanders in history. He never lost a single battle. He spread Greek culture, language, and ideas across the known world. The Hellenistic Age, a period of cultural fusion between Greek and Eastern civilizations, was his creation. It changed history forever. But Alexander was also a flawed figure. He was ambitious, ruthless, and consumed by his own myth. He destroyed cities, killed thousands, and his empire crumbled as soon as he was gone. Alexander the Great is a reminder that power is fleeting. He conquered the known world, but in the end, he died young, away from his homeland, his empire divided. Still, his story continues to inspire. He dared to reach beyond what anyone thought possible. And for that, we remember him. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please hit that like button and subscribe for more history content. Let me know in the comments, would you have followed Alexander into India or turned back? I read every single comment. I'll see you in the next one.